इतना अनस्टेबल कनेक्शन से हम लोग करेंगे. It's highly unstable. How will we know where to start?
I think those guys will have to signal, or you have to contact that fellow, Amitabh Bachchan, Amitabh whatever, in CII.
Anilji, did you get my question? Hello. Anil has frozen. My goodness, yeah, he's not in a best of the Wi-Fi. Oh, he's frozen. I think he's lost. मुन्ना, तुम्हारा एक हॉटस्पॉट चालू for the next 1 hour. Anil is lost. Yeah, he's gone. Problem है यार, म्यांमार में actually क्या है, these days you have a lot of issues on electricity. So I am sitting in one of the best buildings, but even though I am, you have these regular power cuts.
Oh,
You know,
that's quite risky.
and by the time you have the backup which starts again, it takes at least 3 to 4 minutes for the Wi-Fi to again set up.
It takes time.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Challenges out here.
Anyway, we have to live with all these challenges.
Yeah, that is okay. It's almost like a part and parcel now. So you have Raji.
Am I audible to everyone?
Loud and clear, ma'am.
Okay. May I begin the session if that's okay with everybody?
No, I think
Louder if you don't mind, and speak into the microphone.
my moderator is not there. 1 second, let me check. My moderator. Is missing. 1 second. Yeah, there he is. He is signing in. He's signing in. Anil bhai, are you there? Hello, Anil bhai, can you hear us? You need to mute yourself, my friend. Please unmute yourself. Anil bhai, please unmute yourself.
He's doing something. Okay.
Yeah, this is more stable.
Yeah, Ms. Kunsang, I think he's a moderator, and I think.
Yeah, first I would like to
Now
start.
it's okay.
Welcome everyone to the session on collaboration opportunities in agriculture. May I now request Mr. Anil Vyas, Head of Agri Division, PL Global Impacts Private Limited. Over to you, sir.
Hi everyone. Good morning and good afternoon, depending on the region where you are. Hello, namaste, Minglaba. Just to put in perspective, the Myanmar and India agro trade. Myanmar exports around $1 billion to India, and this has a potential to grow multifold, almost double And the main thing is that to consider is that the proximity between Myanmar and India. Within 3 to 4 days, Myanmar has the potential to supply black mape, green mung bean, and to the major commodities to any port of India coast. And potential to, besides that, we have potential in mechanization, especially in the rice sector, right from the farming to the milling, and the food and beverage industry, where there can be multiple collaborations. Indian manufacturers can invest in packaging. So considering all this, we will be discussing with our esteemed panel and put forward our presentation. On our panel today, we have Mr. Hitesh Jain, Head of Agri Trade Myanmar for AGT Foods. Mr. Hitesh has a experience of over 18 years in the agri trade and is well versed with almost all commodities and all the aspects of business in Myanmar. He will put forward his view on how to enhance the Myanmar and India agri trade. And then we have on panel we have a slight change because it was Mr. Rajiv Kumar, but he's being busy, and now we have base of him, we have Mr. Amol. Hello. The director with, instead of Mr. Rajiv Kumar, Senior Advisor, Floatech, we have Mr. Amol, who is the Director Marketing for Floatech Engineering. And he will put forth his opinion on the rice and how we can partner with India on the rice mechanization, right from the farming to the milling. Then last but not the least, we have Mr. G. Chandrasekhar on our panel today, an economist with a passion for analyzing agriculture, agribusiness, and commodity markets. He's highly regarded and his opinions are valued across the board. So just to pass on, to start with, we have Mr. Hitesh Jain. Mr. Hitesh Jain, can we have your opinion? Can you introduce yourself and share your outlook on Myanmar Agro? Please introduce yourself and share your outlook. Please, Mr. Hitesh Jain, on the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Anil, and thank you for the kind words. Good morning to the viewers in India and a good day to everyone across the globe. I think this panel discussion would not have come at an opportune time than today, when the Union Agriculture Minister from Myanmar is currently visiting India to promote the trade and is keen on getting investments in the agri sector for Myanmar. Myanmar is a vital cog in the pulses trade wheel, as it is the only country after Canada that regularly exports over 1 million tons annually. Myanmar exports over 1.2 million tons annually, with a valuation of close to $1 billion, and 75% of it is to India. The major commodities exported are black mape, urad, tuar hole or pigeon peas, and green mung bean. What's perhaps largely unknown is for every gram of plant protein, the water needed is just 15% of what's required for animal protein. Pulses give nutrients back to the soil, which are beneficial to the paddy crop that follows the pulses. They also do not emanate greenhouse gases, which regrettably are unavoidable with the production of animal proteins. The pulses production and trade is therefore a positive contributor to the climate change effort. That said, let's examine why this export effort is possible in spite of various challenges that exist in Myanmar today. The first is that if one looks at the export prices and the prices the Myanmar farmer derives for this product, then you shall see that the inland logistical cost and traders' margin within the supply chain are very reasonable compared to many other countries. Consequently, Myanmar farmer derives a fair value, which is reflected in the fairly prosperous countryside where farming is abound. The second is that the Myanmar government has taken a hands-off approach to the trade and not burdened it with unnecessary rules and regulations, which allows decision makers to work irritation-free and use the bulk of their time in business rather than filing purposeless forms and queuing outside government offices. Another point to keep in mind, why Myanmar has managed 1 million ton consistently is because it's the only sizable or significant exporter of black mape in the world. Other countries have tried growing it, but failed for a variety of reasons, mainly being the higher cost of production. Out of the 1.2 million tons, almost half is black mape. Tuor and moong have other countries as Africa grows them consistently. And these two commodities face a tough competition for Myanmar, but so far, none for mape. Myanmar is blessed with plenty of arable lands, perennial rivers, with a per capita water availability 24 times higher than India, with a plenty of tropical sunshine to add to it. All these are vital ingredients to successful agriculture, and therefore also it annually exports over 3 million tons of rice and 2 to 3 million tons of corn. Myanmar has been proactive recently and is ready to buy high quality seeds for pulses and oil seeds. The reason for that is that if you take a commodity like Myanmar green mung bean, the price that Myanmar fetches is far less than the prices of Australian green mung bean. And the basic difference is the quality of seeds, which now Myanmar is actively addressing by sourcing from various other countries. Over here, I would like to give an example of corn, where the government has sourced and introduced new hybrid seeds to its farmers. And the result is that the production of the same has geometrically increased, which has thereby helped the surplus available for exports, which is close to 2 to 3 million tons. Further to add, this is a perfect example for the success story of PPP, which is public and private partnership, and the results are for everyone to see, with the increased production, thereby boosting the surplus for exports. The other point why Myanmar is doing better in agriculture is due to the logistics. Internal logistics cost, which is via river, road, or rail, is reasonable, and due to the development of new large-scale warehouses, both at the point of collection and at the loading point via containers in Yangon, is one of the key reasons why I think this trade is quite successful. Further, thanks to the MITT port there, where large vessels now, which berth at MITT due to the quick loading because of the current warehouse infrastructure, shipping lines are incentivized to bring them as they are sure that their vessels shall be fully loaded due to the large warehouses, which can easily and efficiently load around 20 to 25 containers in a day. And there are plenty of such warehouses available in Yangon. On the trade part, Myanmar shippers have the reputation of being good and clean, and their dealings are able to ship at a short notice. Less transit time to Indian ports as compared to, say, Africa or Canadians make Myanmar pulses an attractive proposition for buyers who have to wait lesser time to receive materials, of which often there is a sporadic high demand. Globally, technology has played an important role in the production and trade of pulses. New varieties of seeds made the resistance to various pests and betterments of yields. Trade happens over WhatsApp, and there is a virtual marketplace that has developed with buyers and sellers being kept abreast through well-populated groups that exchange information and prices at real time. The other leap the trade has taken has been with the emergence of plant proteins, still at a very nascent stage, with Canada and Australia being leaders owing to their robust public-private partnerships. With a wave of veganism sweeping the West, meat substitutes are growing, and it's a matter of time before some of the large players would come looking for materials in Myanmar and giving the business a further impetus. Being in the trade as one of the regular players, I look forward to see some prosperous and interesting times in the year ahead, as technology provides newer solutions and options to increasing yields to all players in the value chain. The MOU quantity between India and Myanmar, which will be effective from 1st of April 2023, for Udad is 250,000 tons, and for pigeon peas, which is Tuor, is 100,000 tons, which I feel therefore should be adjusted upwards to a minimum of 100,000 tons for mape and 200,000 tons for Tuor. As even, I believe a 5% increase in consumption shall lead to shortages and price rise in India. Let us not forget the fact that Myanmar is the only country that grows udad commercially, and it is not entirely dependent on India, as there is a continuous demand of udad from Pakistan, Bangladesh, and other countries from the subcontinent. So if unseasonal rain continues and becomes a near normal in India, India shall keep wanting to import more from Myanmar. There may be a similar demand from other countries too at the same time, only making the prices go north. The increase in MOU should therefore ensure that the farmers in Myanmar do not shift to other crops, because to wean them back shall be nearly impossible, as we have seen in Tuar, where the production, which used to be around 300,000 tons until 2016, dropped to 160 to 180 in 2017-2018. For MAPE, the forecast, what we presume for 2023 would be more or less same, which would be anywhere around 600,000 tons to 630,000 tons. And for Tuar, we estimate this would be anywhere between 225,000 tons to 250,000 tons. Last but not the least, green moong bean, currently the Indian government has restricted the import of this commodity, but we hope and we request the government of India to lift this restriction, as this shall encourage the farmers in Myanmar to plant the same for the upcoming season. Moving on to my presentation. That is the outlook for Myanmar beans and pulses for 2022-2023. Already been shared by Mr. Anil. I'm representing AGT Foods and Ingredients Inc. in Myanmar. I'm here last 12 to 13 years. Myanmar harvest time is between January and March for pigeon peas, and black mape and green moong bean is harvested thrice a year. Myanmar prices are heavily dependent on India, mainly for pigeon peas and black mape, as around 75 to 80% of the produce is exported to India. For green moong bean, as I mentioned, that currently India has restricted the commodity, but it has a continuous demand from other countries as well. Myanmar is heavily dependent on India on exports of beans and pulses, but due to the MOU system being introduced by the government of India, there will be some kind of an uncertainty which we see for next year as well. Moving on to the production, black mape, if you see, in 2018, the production used to be 550,000 tons, in 19, 500,000 tons, in 20, 550,000 tons. In 2021, it was around 630,000 tons, because the prices, what the Myanmar farmers are fetching now, is quite attractive. And they are reducing the green moong bean acreage into black mape. For 2022 also, my estimates are we will be roughly around the same numbers as what last year. For Tuar, as I mentioned, 2018, you had a production of about 200,000 tons, 2019, 300,000 tons, 2020, again, 200,000 tons. 2021, we are hoping that this production went down to 150,000 tons, as this was absorbed by green moong bean in some way. And for 2022, we are estimating this again to be between 230 to 250,000 tons a year. Last, I think for green moong bean, 2018, the production used to be 350, 2019, 400,000 tons, 2020, 450, because I think a part of the Tuar was shifted to green moong bean. And that is where I think you see the change in the numbers. 2021, it's around 400,000 tons. And 2022, there is slightly a drop in the production, because I think the current black mape prices and the pigeon peas prices are quite attractive. And I think the farmers are motivated for planting more of pigeon peas and green moong bean. Already mentioned, Myanmar has huge land and a wider variety of growing conditions. It's about 65 million hectares of terra farm, highest in the Southeast Asia. However, only 20% of the land is actually used for agriculture. So if I put it in the right perspective, if I compare it with Vietnam, Vietnam uses almost the same amount of land for agriculture, despite only half the size of Myanmar. So the logic which I want to make over here is that if Myanmar wants to increase its production, it is very much capable to do it, because it has the land, the agricultural land, which is available. As Southeast Asia becomes more technologically advanced and Myanmar recovers from its economic struggles, I think I am very, very much optimistic about Myanmar. Plus, you have the newer technology which is coming in place. Whether you talk about the plant protein, which is a new kind of an era where I think it will be interesting for large companies to get in. Having said that, I think I'd like to complete my presentation. Back to you, Anilji. And thank you so much, CII and INCC for nominating me for this panel discussion today.
Thanks a lot, Hitesh. You are fabulous as always. You put into perspective the Myanmar scenario very well. And the major point was that Myanmar has a scope to double its agri produce, provided we get the right encouragement from the principal by India. And passing over to Mr. Rajiv, I think you are there. Mr. Rajiv? Hello? Is Mr. Rajiv around? Hello?
On behalf of Rajiv, myself is Anup Nanda. Hello, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Anup Nanda, welcome. Sorry for my misrepresentation initially. Mr. Anup Nanda is Director Marketing. He is an engineer by profession, has been instrumental in the growth of Flowtech in the past 20 years with a focus on customer satisfaction and innovative design. He has spearheaded the expansion of Flowtech in many countries. Now we welcome him to put forth his viewpoint on how Myanmar can collaborate with India, especially in the grain sector, right from the farming to the milling, the mechanization part. Mr. Anup Nanda, please. Mr. Anup Nanda.
Hello.
Mr. Anup Nanda, can we have you? Hello?
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. We can hear you, Mr. Anup.
Please unmute yourself.
We'd love to see your face also, sir. Mr. Anup? Hello?
Anil, if you don't mind, I'll take over. You can invite me and then Anup can follow. If it's okay with
Mr.
you.
Anup, we'll take a break from you. We will invite you later. Meanwhile, please correct your technical glitches there. You're not, you have to unmute yourself and your video also is not on. We invite Mr. G. Chandrasekhar, a well-known name. I don't need to introduce him at all. His face and his name speaks for itself. And Mr. G. Chandrasekhar, we would like to have your opinion on how to increase on the collaboration between Myanmar and India, and also your views on many perspectives regarding the economical part and the others. Thanks, Mr. G. Chandrasekhar. Welcome on the house.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Such a delight for me to be part of the CII event, India Myanmar collaboration opportunities in agro and food processing sectors. And I want to compliment my young friend Hitesh for a wonderful presentation. He touched upon the pulses trade, which is an ongoing business and with huge potential between India and Myanmar. I'm sure with the signing of the MOU, there is a certain guarantee of a minimum amount of purchase by India. And my view is that this quantity is only going to increase in future. But be that as it may, let me talk about the fact that India and Myanmar, our relationship actually has spanned centuries, probably millennia, and both countries share land and marine borders, maritime borders. I think all of us are clear, and these are great advantages. The kind of geographic proximity that these two countries have is a great strength that we need to leverage. And believe you me, India has always supported Myanmar's socio-economic development. And we have, as a policy, we have something called neighborhood first. In India, we have neighborhood first policy, and we also have what is called Act East policy. It used to be called Look East policy. Now it's now changed into Act East policy. Therefore, all our eastern neighbors are very important partners for India. And that's exactly where Myanmar comes in. And importantly and interestingly, both India and Myanmar are agrarian economies. As we all know, more than 50% of India's population is dependent for its livelihood on agriculture and related activities. And Myanmar is no different. For the economies are largely agrarian. Admittedly, of course, Indian agriculture is far bigger than that of Myanmar. But remember, the challenges are more or less the same. There are a lot of similarities between the two countries, despite the scale difference. What is it? Both countries practice smallholder cultivation, correct? And then because the average farm size in India and in Myanmar is quite small. And that is a challenge. It is actually also an opportunity. And in the other point I want to make is that farmers in both countries, because they are smallholders, are more vulnerable. So an average Indian farmer is no different from an average farmer in Burma or in Myanmar. And both of them are subject to vagaries of the weather and vagaries or volatility of the market. And therefore, this is something which appears to be common for both the countries. Also, importantly, I see that food security and nutrition security are critical for both the countries. And equally important is the consequences of climate change. In fact, climate resilience must become the common agenda for both the countries for cooperation. I'll come to that a little later. Now, we in India have made significant progress as far as addressing weather vagaries are concerned and market volatility. Therefore, India is in a position to share its experience in terms of what policies that we follow have delivered, what institutions that we have established that have delivered results. And I'm sure Myanmar can learn from India's experience. I'm saying this very specifically because it was 2018, I think 5 years ago, as a part of the World Bank consultancy project, I went to West Africa. I went to Ivory Coast. And there I helped them as a part of a team to establish a rice value chain, okay, for an institution called Rice Africa. There I spoke about how India has actually become, how did it become the world's second largest rice producer and the largest rice exporter now, okay? And that I talked about the policies that we pursued, the institutions that we established, and how over time it has delivered. I think that experience, in my view, India's experience would be very, very useful for Myanmar. Before we can actually share our experience in terms of policies and institutions. And therefore, that actually create, because there are commonalities in agriculture between both the countries, there are, I believe, extraordinary opportunity to boost trade, to boost investment, and to boost research in the area of agriculture, agribusiness, and of course the allied sectors like livestock and dairy and fisheries, etc. Now, what are these key areas where there are collaboration possibilities? I see very clearly farm research and development is one area where both countries should collaborate. It's extremely important. Production technologies and equipment for various crops is quite important. Financing and microcredit system for small farmers is something we practice, and which I'm sure can be replicated in Myanmar or can be scaled up in Myanmar if Myanmar already has microfinance institutions. Post-harvest management. There are huge losses in India, post-harvest losses. And therefore, we are now investing heavily in post-harvest management of various crops, including perishables like fruits and vegetables. And I'm sure Myanmar is no different. And therefore, there is, again, a collaboration opportunity, both for research and for investment from both sides. I know the Minister for Agriculture, Livestock and Irrigation is from Myanmar, is in India. In fact, I'm going to be meeting tomorrow, hopefully here in Mumbai. And therefore, I must speak about livestock sector. And India is one of the world's most vibrant livestock sector. We have the world's largest cattle population in India, something like 500 million cattle heads. We are the world's largest producers of milk, and our milk production has been rising steadily year after year. And therefore, we are actually leaders in some way in the dairy sector, although dairy sector itself is facing a number of challenges, but without any doubt, we are the world's largest producers of milk. And therefore, that is an area where India and Myanmar can collaborate. India can actually do some hand-holding, capacity building, and even investments in Myanmar to further strengthen the Myanmar livestock industry and the dairy industry. I can also see aquaculture and fisheries sector, which are quite strong in India, rapidly growing, attracting investment. I think we can actually share our experience. And of course, food processing. Our food processing is still at a fairly low level, I must concede, but huge investments are flowing into food processing for a whole range of agriculture crops and commodities. And that's something which Indian entrepreneurs can replicate in Myanmar through investment, through collaboration, and through joint venture with Myanmar entrepreneurs. Now, therefore, I see India is absolutely in a vantage position to supply farm inputs, for example, seeds, fertilizers, agrochemicals, and of course, farm technology. And why am I saying this? Because currently, the Myanmar imports actually from China, from Europe, and from ASEAN countries. But India is so well equipped, and in terms of geographic proximity, we should be able to supply seeds and fertilizers and agrochemicals at possibly more economical and more competitive rates to Myanmar. I have no doubt in my mind at all, and as also farm technology. Now, genetic resources. India has such extraordinary biodiversity that we should and we are in a position to share genetic resources, especially for livestock and of course for agriculture crops. This is another area of cooperation that I'm able to see. Then you look at related services, agri or farm related services, for example, agriculture insurance, capacity building among smallholders to overcome price volatility. I do a lot of work in India in capacity building amongst farmer producer companies. How do they beat market volatility? What kind of market outlook that they should have? I think this capacity building is something which I'm sure Myanmar needs, and which is where India can actually play a very active role. Animal agriculture, of course, I talked about of livestock and dairy. Animal agriculture is a key area which my strong recommendation to Myanmar and its government would be to boost animal agriculture, because that's an area which will create jobs, which will create incomes, and which will create investment. There, India can positively play a role in animal health and animal nutrition, because our scale is rather high, and I think the technology that we follow, the vibrancy that we have in our animal agriculture is at a very different level. And India, I believe, and Indian entrepreneurs, I believe, should only be happy to share their experience and look at collaboration possibilities. For we need to enhance. Myanmar will have to enhance its production. It has to enhance its productivity, and these are areas where India has made strides, and India should be able to help and share our success mantras with Myanmar. Then I look at, when you talk of agriculture, I also look at farm infrastructure, farm logistics. Now, I don't know, but I think we should start in India start talking to entrepreneurs who would be ready to invest in Myanmar, building warehouses, building cold chains, and transportation, assaying services, quality certification, electronic trading, e-markets, for example, e-market platform. All these are very, very important. In all this, India is making progress, and I'm sure Indian entrepreneurs will be in a position, would be interested in taking these activities to Myanmar, or maybe partner with some Myanmar companies. For capacity building, knowledge exchange through visits of scientists and technicians, skill development through vocational training. These are all areas of cooperation, because the issues are common, and India has made some progress, and that's why I'm recommending. From Myanmar side, of course, you can export commodities like pulses, etc. There's no problem, but there has to be a two-way exchange of goods and services. Our agriculture actually in some way out scientists who can probably they can help. They can go to Myanmar and help small farmers in Myanmar strengthen the farm sector. And then I also can talk about barter trade or counter trade. For example, there are times when Myanmar imports sugar. I think Myanmar should consider importing from India wheat or sugar or whatever commodities that India has in surplus against export of pulses. It can be counter trade or it can be barter trade. I think we need to explore all this. Before having said all this, the possibilities of a very wide range of possibilities of relationship that can be built in terms of physical trade, in terms of investment, in terms of joint resources, I would actually recommend to Myanmar and of course to the Indian government to set up a joint India-Myanmar working group. I think once this India-Myanmar joint working group is set up, we can take these ideas forward of bilateral trade, of joint research and investment, etc. And I would expect that the members of this group, drawn from both countries, Myanmar and India, must have passion to take this relationship forward. They must have domain expertise. They must have integrity. They must have a vision. Now, I have no doubt that the possibility between India and Myanmar can actually expand, can increase exponentially, but we need to make it work. And for that to work, policymakers and entrepreneurs and trade bodies on both sides will have to work with passion, with a long-term perspective. I think this is all I would say. Thank you very much. Good luck and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mr. Chandrasekhar. You put into perspective everything and into a wider perspective. We only think of trade, but you have put so many points which are unexplored. We are only looking into what we can explore or has been explored, but we have never looked into so many aspects which you have put light on today. And we hope that the policymakers and the industrialists and the investors take note of it. And you are able to meet the minister tomorrow and also have a good dialogue with him. Because if we listen to you, there's so much of potential. There's so much untapped potential between these two countries, which has never been looked into.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Just add, I believe in every line of what I have spoken now. It is possible. I think we need commitment from both sides.
Your passion can be felt.
Political commitment and commitment of trade leaders from both sides, visionary leadership, and I'm sure this can be taken forward. I have no doubt whatsoever in it. Sorry. Yeah.
Your passion can be felt. It is so vibrant. It can be felt within us. The moment you talk, we can feel your passion and your will to do this and your vision that this materializes. And I'm sure if you can put this forward to people, it will definitely happen, because Myanmar is totally untapped. We only think of mape, tuar, green mung bean. Besides that, we don't think anything. We think OGL, we think so many things, but we never talk about things which you are talking about. You want to say something here?
Pardon me, I just make one more point. I don't want Myanmar-India relationship to be based on transactions. You have
Correct.
sold us $1 billion of pulses. Now you buy $1 billion worth some goods from India. That trade, physical trade will happen. I think we need to partner each other. Myanmar and India will have to strike partnership, and they need to walk together. They need to grow together because the issues are common. And therefore that partnership
Everything is
what
common.
important. Yeah, thank you.
Everything is common. Culturally, we are common.
Absolutely.
The human nature is common. The food somewhat is similar. We are very similar. And we are not fighting over anything. We are very, very similar. And together we can really build up a very strong partnership. Myanmar can be a ground where India, whatever, if you say that India has reached the where sowing wise, India does not have more potential to grow above 30 to 32 million, maximum 35 million tons. So Myanmar can be a very good partner for them. Myanmar is not competing. Myanmar farmer is not competing with Indian farmer. We can be together and we can develop something. In terms of technology also, as you said, there can be lot shared from India to Myanmar. Investments can come into mechanization and development can happen. Yes, definitely. I'll just go back to Mr. Rajiv Kumar. Hello. Are you around? Can we have his word if he's...
Good morning, sir.
No, Mr. Rajiv Kumar.
Anup Kumar, yes.
Anup Nanda. Mr. Anup Nanda.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can we have your word on this before we end this?
Myself is Anup Kumar Nanda. I am representing Flowtech Engineers Private Limited. This factory is situated nearby Delhi, is in Faridabad. Basically, we are into the grain milling industry, rice, pulses, and value addition, isolated proteins, and the plant-based proteins. So basically, my agenda is that Myanmar is producing large quantity of pulses as well as large quantity of paddy. So basic focus is that how to get the optimum output and the maximum yield on their produce. The biggest challenge in the industry nowadays is the power. Secondly is the manpower, and thirdly the wear and tear, the maintenance cost of a plant and industry. So we Flowtech engineers, we have an innovative milling technology, and basically we are working on the three aspects: how to minimize the cost of production, either it is rice or it is pulses, any food industry based on Myanmar. How to minimize the power consumption? It means you have to design the plant such a way the cost of the production in the terms of power is less compared to the other manufacturers. Secondly, how to optimize the production capacity to reduce the overhead. And thirdly, very seriously along with the even development as well as the development, how to increase the yield and how to reduce the wastage. Because in this pulses industry, if you calculate the total production, wastage is almost, now the scenario of India is almost 7.8% is the wastage. Actually, in pulses processing, during the cleaning and during the milling, we are using lot of kind of polishers and lot of kind of friction polishers. During this
Leo, please unmute yourself.
You are mute.
we put a pilot project in Faridabad. I'd like to request you, if the delegation is want to visit our factory, and the pilot project in Faridabad, we can make an arrangement under the umbrella of CII. We officially invite them in Faridabad. It is hardly just 30 minutes journey from Delhi CII office, so that we can give them a practical presentation on the plant equipments and what is the technology, how we are working on it to save the cost of production. So it is again, it is my humble request to CII to kindly make an arrangement of their visit of the delegations along with their CII. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Anup. Very nice to hear to you. Finally, just to put in a word, Mr. G. Chandrasekhar, you have been wonderful and you have put a lot of ideas into the panel. And I hope this is taken forward. Mr. Hitesh, thanks to you. You're wonderful as always. And given a perspective of the Myanmar Agri trade, thanks a lot, everyone, for us.
Can I make a point, if you don't mind?
Yeah, please.
I have a suggestion for Myanmar government and entrepreneurs. My sense again is that not many Indian entrepreneurs are really aware of the kind of potential that exists for trade and investment between Myanmar and India. Myanmar government and entrepreneurs there must consider coming to India and consider conducting road shows in India. I think you need to market, you need to sell Myanmar as an investment destination. You need to highlight what Myanmar is all about, what are the natural resources it has, what kind of investment opportunities it provides, how a growing population and growing income is driving lifestyle changes, and how lifestyle changes are creating more and more demand for a wide variety of goods and services. And therefore, my personal view would be, I think Myanmar should come and do road shows in India, in at least major cities, and invite entrepreneurs to come and invest in Myanmar. And I'm sure there will be interest, because we just can't expect that Indian entrepreneur will know and then will start exploring. Once you start doing road shows and hard sell Myanmar as an investment destination, you will see in a 3-5 year time frame, the relationship will be at a far higher level, and investment and trade flows will be far enhanced than what they are at the moment. Is my very firm belief.
Thanks, Mr. G. Chandrasekhar. We also, through IMCC and personally, take forward your view to the Myanmar entrepreneur. Thanks a lot, everyone. It was a pleasure, and I feel we have put forward a few points which will be thought over, and we move forward in our mutual collaboration. Would Mr. Hitesh like to have one final word?
I think all in all, I think we are all very
more or less put everything.
I think all in all, I think more or less all who are here and the people who are listening are quite optimistic about the growth of what we have seen with India. And being a neighboring country, which is Myanmar, I think the transformation is quite possible, quite easy, quite possible. And I think since if you see the Modi government's Look East policy also, it wants to develop this particular region as well. So I think all in all, I think it's a fantastic place to come. I'm here last 13 years, and I can assure you that it's a beautiful place to be in. That is it. Anil, back to you, sir.
Myanmar also currently showing its intent as a full forum high-class delegation is already in India, and the intent is there. We want Indians to come to Myanmar and invest. So let's see how we take this whole process forward, as Mr. G. Chandrasekhar proposed. We'll also, through IMCC and other fora, invested to go do road shows in Myanmar in India in the future. And thanks a lot, everyone. It was wonderful.
Okay.
I feel, as I have said already, that we have put our perspective forward. Let us see how things go forward. Thanks everyone. Have a nice day. God bless.
God bless.
Thank
Take care.
Thanks.
May I leave?
Yes, I think we can all leave. Thanks, Mr. Anup. Thanks, Hitesh. Bye.